Hello, ladies. I never do this, as you know, but I came across this amazing colleague. His name's Jamie McConochie, and he has something so interesting and so unique that I just had to not only share this with you guys, but I really wanted you to get to know him personally because when I met him, I was just so taken by his presence, his sincerity, his caring, and you guys all know my story, right? I have attracted the wrong man like 100 times. And when I met Jamie, and he's like conscious man attraction, how to attract a smart, sexy, spiritual man, I was like, oh, duh, hello. It did never occur to me that maybe what I was supposed to be looking for all of that time was a conscious man, right? I mean, that if that becomes your number one priority, then you're not going to waste time with, all of the men that aren't a good fit. Let's just put it that way. So let me tell you a little bit about Jamie before we, jump on into this interview. But Jamie McConochie is a certified professional coach who helps successful spiritual women attract and keep a smart, sexy spiritual man. He gained his bachelor's degree in psychology at Westminster University, London, before traveling India in search of life's big questions. He then became a Hindu monk for 11 years in a multi-faith monastery where he learned to experience the divine through several different spiritual traditions. He later left the monastery on a quest for love. After much trial and error with relationships, and ladies, I've heard his story, so it kind of made me feel better because he's been through it too. Anyway, so after much trial and error with relationships, he realized that many spiritual women struggle to find quality, lasting relationship because they are making certain common mistakes. With his insight and perspective as a spiritual man, Jamie now coaches women to avoid those mistakes and create a lasting connection with a conscious quality man. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Pam. Thanks for inviting me on here. Great to be here. This is going to be fun.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you because I love what you do. It's so important. So I just want to jump in and have them, hear about your wisdom because it's so profound to me. So why is it important for spiritual conscious women to attract a smart, sexy spiritual man?
Yeah, well, I think you sort of partially answered this in your little intro just now, as when you were saying about, why was it so difficult for you to meet a guy, and then you sort of clicked, oh, well, it should be a conscious man, and a sort of spiritual man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of women who are kind of they're sort of spiritually awakening, they're becoming more aware, becoming more conscious. It does take a while for the penny to drop to sort of realize that, now at your level of consciousness, now you really need to be with a compatible guy who's at that level of consciousness, that who also is spiritually awakened or is going through an awakening. And so, to realize that it usually takes a lot of heartbreak, pain, and trial and error and everything. And then you sort of think, oh God, I'm just not doing it. So that's why with meeting a conscious man is really the only way that you're going to get fulfilled in a relationship. You can meet great guys, good looking, intelligent, polite, whatever. But if they don't have that depth of sort of spiritual consciousness that is compatible with you, you're not going to feel fulfilled. You're just not, So that's why it's so important. And it's also a question of sharing similar values as well. That kind of mindfulness, spiritual values. You need to have at least some similarity, not exactly the same, but they've got to be similar values. Otherwise, it's going to be a very empty feeling in the relationship. And then you've got to be able to filter out the spiritual guys from the duds, and that's another thing about this is another challenge for spiritual women, is because you as you become more spiritually aware, you do become more attractive just naturally. I think that's it's a natural consequence of spiritual awakening, that you start attracting more men. So you've got to kind of learn how to filter them out, how to filter out the good quality conscious men. So that's why it's so important to be able to do this.
It's interesting because one of the processes I take my clients through is I have them identify like their characteristics, right? The characteristics that they require in a man. And, it really doesn't ever come up as a characteristic of like being conscious or being spiritual. It always comes up like, successful, or, I don't want a couch potato, active, but the whole conscious spiritual thing never comes up. And I want to tell you something that's always been in my mind about spiritual men is that they're like airy fairy. They're like, like they're almost more feminine than me, which I don't want a man that's more feminine than me. I mean, ick, So can you talk about that a little?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm so glad you brought that up as well. I mean, this is one thing I do with my clients is I first, clarify what is a spiritual man. We're talking about attracting, I use the phrase a lot, quality conscious man.
Mm-hmm.
So not this airy fairy type hippie kind of guy who never washes his hair or just wants to meditate all day and doesn't want to work or earn money, anything like that. That for me, that's not spiritual. Honestly, that's not, for me, spirituality is about having the balance of you've got that depth of consciousness to connect with yourself at some kind of spiritual level. But on the other hand, you've got that balance of being practical and in the real world and able to meet your responsibilities and to take care of your own life as well as anyone else who's involved in your life. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because this is what we're talking about. We're talking about attracting this type of caliber, this quality conscious guy who's got that balance. And they're out there. That you just have to know how to find them and how to approach them,
Yeah, in your ebook, I remember you have like a list of all these different qualities of conscious quality spiritual men. And it's just a really interesting list. Like we don't have time to get into it now, but I just remember some of the things that you wrote, like it really penetrates to the heart of like, wow, this is something that, I think that a piece that I'm missing, that we're missing, that women are missing. So we don't have time because you have like that really amazing, very descriptive list, but it's in your ebook, which, we'll talk about later. But I really do recommend that taking that time to think and to process and to like have it illustrated to you. This is what you're really looking for. Very profound. So I just, wanted to acknowledge you for that and thank you for that. So, okay. So you mentioned dating mistakes in the intro. We talked a little bit. You said there's these common dating mistakes that women make. So, okay, we all want to know, like, what are we doing wrong? What is it?
Yeah. What's going on here? Yeah. Well, this is, this has come partly through my own experience, but also partly from, I've been sort of studying and following a lot of these topics which are out there. I think there are lots of things, right? And as you said, there's more detail in my ebook, but I'll just mention a few of the most prominent ones here. Mm-hmm. Being too self-preoccupied, like maybe too self-centered. So in my experience, I've found, a lot of women who are, intelligent, smart, but they sort of focus themselves too much on themselves. So they talk about themselves too much. They don't sort of stop to consider and ask questions about the other partner. They're too overly concerned about how they look, constantly looking in the mirror, or walking down the road, they're looking in the shop windows, making sure that they look good. And there's
really?
This is my experience.
I love hearing I love hearing men's dating stories. I'm always telling my women this: men have horrible dating stories.
There's nothing worse for for a conscious man. I mean, any decent man, really. When you're with a woman, you're on a date. You want her attention. You want her to be listening to you and paying attention. You don't want her to be sort of talking about herself non-stop, continuously, non-stop, everything about herself. That's a real turn off. It really is. So it can be difficult to sort of actually become aware that you're doing that. I mean, that's where coaching comes in to help with that. But if you do sort of feel that the man you're with is kind of getting distracted or he's not really giving you much attention, it could be because you're just too focused on yourself. That could be an indication of what's happening. So look out for that.
Is that the story where women, they're like, we just had a great time. We had such a wonderful time on the date. I just don't know what happened. It's like, you were having a good time at your own party and he was like not involved. He wasn't invited.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But from a spiritual point of view, I just want to go back to that though. But from a spiritual point of view, you and I have talked about this actually. It's about presence though, really, right? Because a lot of times if you're too preoccupied with yourself, what it really is to me is self-consciousness.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not having a total sense of confidence, right? Maybe it's nervous, so you talk too much. Maybe it's just you're so worried about what the other person thinks of you that you actually start talking about yourself too much too. So it's really about presence, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that was going to be one of the next point I was going to mention about, mistakes to avoid, is to be more present. And this really is a reflection of a kind of a general practice that you, as a spiritual person, you probably do anyway. And a lot of people who are spiritual, they try to be more in the present moment anyway. So if that's part of your spirituality, then that's brilliant. You need to strengthen that, because being in the present moment with a conscious man is really, that's going to wow him. If you can be fully in the present moment, then there's going to be all the other benefits from that. You're going to give him more attention. You're going to sort of make him feel good, and he's really going to think, oof, wow. Because a lot of, like I say, a lot of women don't do that. So when a conscious man meets a woman who is like that, it's like, wow, oh my God, this woman is really, there's something about her. And it's just from being in the present moment. It really is. You're more spontaneous. You can sort of flirt more. You can be more relaxed, and you can even be more confident when you're just being so in the present moment. So that absolutely, that's a real key thing to do, to make sure you do that, to avoid that mistake.
Yeah, and then that can help you really take the attention off of worrying about the future, which is another big thing women do. They're like way ahead in the future on a date, right?
Right.
And I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
We're like,
right.
yeah.
It's yeah, absolutely. It's easy to do. It's easy to happen. You can end up thinking, you start thinking, oh, does he like me? Oh, is he going to see me again? Are we going to have another date? And you can go into that sort of vicious cycle of thinking. That's where, don't worry about that. Just be in the present moment. Just enjoy, the evening or the walk, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, the restaurant you're in, and just enjoy the sensations and enjoy his company. Be curious about him and discover what his sense of humor is. Really being in that present moment can take you out of that anxiety, which and it generates an aura about you that is just like delicious. It's just like, oh yeah, I like that, And I've noticed that myself when I'm with women who have that capacity to be in the present moment. It's very strongly noticeable for a man, and it's like, oh wow, there's something about this woman, and then you realize she's being very in the present moment. So Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is so interesting. I don't think I've ever really heard that before as a, there's all these techniques of like how to flirt and how to and, how to connect with a man and how to,
Yeah.
but it's just an
I've got
interesting,
those as well. I've got lots of those
you
as
do.
well. Yeah.
You're like, don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what's another mistake? Tell me another mistake.
Yeah, another one is I've got quite a lot here. I'll go with this one because I like this one. Is to get the balance of how sensual and intimate you are with on a
Mm.
date. There's a balance to find, and the balance is really down to you as an individual of what you feel comfortable with. But if you're being too sensual and too flirty, then it can be a bit like it's going to push the conscious man away, because it's going to kind of come across as being a little bit too maybe desperate, or maybe not you don't have enough self-esteem, that you're respecting yourself so much that you're being too forward, you know what I mean? But on the other hand, you do need some sensuality going on. You need a bit of flirting, a bit of physical contact and stuff, a bit of chemistry going on. Because if you're not doing enough of that, so this is the other extreme, if you're too reserved or too shy or something like that, then the man, he's not going to feel such a chemistry going on. He's going to find it a little not so exciting, to be
Mhm.
honest.
Mhm.
So it is a balance to get that, and it's a bit of a tricky one, but you
Mhm.
have to sort of follow your own intuition to find your own balance with that. And when you get that balance right, it's really powerful for a conscious man, because a lot of conscious men who are actively looking for a conscious woman, they're thinking more about spiritual stuff. Is she interested in meditation? Does she do yoga and stuff like that? But they
Mhm.
don't realize that if you find a woman who's interested in all those kinds of things, but is also sensual, that's a magic combination to be like deeply spiritual and intelligent, and at the same time sensual and kind of sexy. That's a powerful combination for a conscious man, and it's like, whoa, it's almost like the perfect woman. So it's really important to try and get that balance of sensuality, and sensuality really comes from being natural, being natural to yourself. Don't force anything. Don't try to like follow these kind of online tips and advice and stuff, except mine. No, I mean,
And mine are good.
that's true, both of ours. Yeah. Well,
Hey,
but
come on now. Don't you think V-necks are better than turtlenecks on a date?
V-necks better than turtlenecks. Well, from a man's perspective, I never really thought about that. Actually, I don't know what would
Well,
you
because you
say?
showing a little skin around here, it is kind of more attractive than like all buttoned up, right?
Oh,
As
I
far
see
as
what
just a
you
tip.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see what you mean for women. I thought you meant for men.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the like unbuttoned top with the like chain.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
No, I think if you do what you're comfortable with,
Right,
then it will come across in the right way. Do you know what I mean?
right.
So if, for example, if you're comfortable with having it unbuttoned a little bit, then it's not going to be too much, because you're
Mhm.
comfortable within it, and your energy will be good with that. But if you're normally buttoned up a bit more, and somebody said, oh, you should sort of show a little bit more, so you unbutton it, and then you're going to get uncomfortable, and then he's going to pick up that something's not right
Mm.
with that.
But don't
So
you think sort of that buttoned up, self-protecting, like there's that whole element of being like self-protecting on a date, like where you're too, and so
yeah,
sometimes that's where like the coaching comes in, because if you're
yeah,
coming across like uptight, like buttoned up, that's the
mm,
self-consciousness you're picking up on. And so it's really also just about like allowing, right? It really also
yeah,
comes down to like allowing and receiving, and like allowing someone in to that balance of allowing someone
yeah,
in. It's like when you come across as overtly sexual and you're leading with sexuality, it's
Yeah.
strange because you're attracting a certain kind of attention, but that's a wall in itself because
Hmm.
you're still not letting someone in.
Yeah,
But then you
absolutely.
don't want to be like, but you're still getting to know somebody. So there's also that balance of like, I'm comfortable in my skin. I can let you in. I can connect with you, but I
Hmm.
know that I know how to take care of myself and keep myself, with the right boundaries for the
Hmm.
circumstance. And that's
Hmm.
also just such a mastery because there's not any of that other stuff people pick up on. Like
Yeah.
people pick up on all of these underlying, it's not even so much as what you say or what you wear, it's these underlying things, this underlying energy that people pick up on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up, Pam. That's so important, and it's another thing that I talk about in my ebook, with these things that, yeah, what absolutely one thing is about allowing a certain amount of vulnerability on a date, because
Yeah.
it's very important. The conscious man wants to be a real conscious man, a real spiritual man. He wants to be a little bit masculine, actually, and he can only do that with you if you're a bit vulnerable. He can do that. He can step into that sort of protective, caring sort of role. He wants to do that, and he can't do that if you're not going to be a bit vulnerable. So it's very important. But again, you have to find your own balance with how vulnerable you want to be, and that comes to, as you said, Pam, about being clear about your own boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very important thing when you go out on a date with a conscious man, with any man, is set for yourself very clear boundaries about what you're prepared to do or not do on a date. And when you have those boundaries clear in your mind, then you're free to flirt, to do whatever you want to do, because you know what your boundaries are. And then as
Mm-hmm.
soon as those boundaries start to be crossed, then you can just maybe step back slightly, or say something if it was appropriate. But yeah, if you've got the clarity about the boundaries before you go out on a date, it will make you so much more relaxed, and your energy will come across so much more nicer, more calmer, and you'll just get a much more wonderful, successful experience going on a date.
And just one thing on that, and then we'll jump topics, is that a big indicator of a conscious quality man is that you guys actually kind of pick up on those little like
Yeah,
vibes. Like, you can
yeah,
always tell a jackass when you're going out with them if you're having to be like, whoa, too much, right? That's
yeah,
not about you, that's about him. But a
yeah.
quality conscious man, if you feel a little uncomfortable, like the chivalrous, like the masculine part that you were talking about just then,
Mm,
you're gonna like respect that so much, because a quality conscious man respects women. So if
yeah.
you have a little bit of like, oh, I need to step back a little, boom, like you'll pick up on that. A quality man
Yeah.
will pick up on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's right. This is one of the big differences between dating just your average Joe Blogs and dating a conscious man, a quality conscious man, is that these type of men are, as you said, they're very sensitive, very intuitive. They may not always be aware of that, but as probably mostly they are. But they are very sensitive, and they can pick up on very subtle energy, changes in energy, or changes of emotion and stuff like that. That's why coming back to what I said earlier about how important it is to be your natural self, because then you're at your most comfortable just being yourself. And when you're comfortable, the energy you project is a very enjoyable energy. Whereas if you're trying to be something that you're not really because somebody told you that's what you should do, or because you're trying to do something that you think he will like,
Ugh,
then
such a trap.
yeah, then you're going to create an energy that's incongruent with your natural self. And he will
Mm.
definitely pick up on that. A spiritual man will easily pick up on that, and he'll feel that something's not right. He'll feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and also that's not setting the basis for a lasting relationship, because as I teach, you date to create, the relationship you want to have. And so if you're not coming at it with your natural self, you're not creating a lasting relationship. And what I love about your coaching is that you really help women get in touch with that natural self as part of working with you, right?
Yeah.
That's like a big,
Mm-hmm.
intense part of working with you. And who better than to work with a quality conscious man to guide you through that process?
Yeah, absolutely. That for me is the fundamental element in my coaching, because it is to attract that caliber of man, you need to be projecting that caliber yourself, that quality yourself. So you need to be there at that point in order to be able to attract and keep someone else who's at that point, right? And being your natural self, for me, is a very profound spiritual thing. Spirituality can be so many different things to so many different people. It's totally an individual thing.
Yeah.
But the basic element of spirituality is being your true natural self. Well, in whatever shape or form that takes, it's, that's what it's all about. And that's through the coaching. Part of the coaching that I do is concentrating specifically on that, just your deep connection to remove your traumas from your past, to remove, not remove, but to
transform.
To transform them, to sort of heal from the traumas of them, and to stop to stop them from being a barrier holding you back. And that's when you step more into yourself, into your true self. And that's where you get more sort of divine qualities coming out. And this beautiful feminine qualities, which I've mentioned, that comes out more when you are just being who you are, just being yourself. Yeah,
I always say that sensuality is it's the integration of sexuality and spirituality, right? It's like you don't want to come across as sexual. You don't want to come across as like, oh, I'm here on this day to shine my radiant light to you. Yeah, right. You want to like have some fun, have some conversation, eat some food, we all eat, hey, we have bodies, so it's like that balance is so important for dating and for creating the kind of lasting love that you want. So your ebook, which is what we're offering right now, you have also you have the dating mistakes, and then you have the principles for, of course, my notes just blew away. So
that's right. That's for like creating a more deeper, lasting connection.
Yeah, that's right. You do the whole element on that.
Yeah, it's the third key, so to speak, and within that key, there's these 4 principles. So once you've got to that stage where you're dating regularly with a guy, then you want to go into these principles, and I'll just quickly summarize them, but obviously there's more detail in the ebook. So the first thing is, don't stress about losing him. That's really important.
But that's for dating too. People stress about losing them in 5 minutes.
I suppose it does. It happened to me even before you go on the date.
If you really like his profile, oh my God. So that's always forever throughout the relationship.
That's throughout the whole process. Yeah. Because the thing is, once what can happen with a lot of women that I know. I mean, men as well do the same thing, is that you start overthinking and you start thinking, maybe he, what if he doesn't like me, or what if next week he changes his mind or whatever. The thing is, just let go of that, because it hasn't happened yet. So you're just making assumptions. So it's about, again, coming back to just being in the present moment, and just relaxing and understanding that you are a beautiful, divine, sensual woman, right? And it doesn't matter, even if he does leave you or doesn't have another day, you're still beautiful and attractive, and another compatible quality guy will come along shortly. So don't worry about losing him. If you lose him, it was meant to be. That's why. So don't stress, because if you stress about it, you end up projecting this kind of neurotic energy, and that's a big turnoff for conscious men. So
And
that's
any
that's
man, actually.
any man,
Yeah, it's a deterrent.
yeah,
So.
absolutely. So the second principle in this one is to, connect to the deep level with him. So a conscious man, they really do need a deep connection in order for a relationship to have any last, for it to last at all. And that means, that can mean different things. It can be about sharing the same sort of philosophical conversations, or maybe the same spirituality. It doesn't have to be exactly the same things, but it involves a deep sense of respect. So if he has a certain sort of way of thinking or a certain belief or whatever, okay, maybe you don't share it or agree exactly. You don't have to agree with it,
Right.
but you admire him for his passion about it, right? And if you admire him, you respect him, and that's a basis for a deep connection with him. And he will love that. I can tell you, I've some of relationships I've had where I've had both extremes, where somebody said they respected me for my beliefs, but they obviously didn't. It was obvious, and that just made me feel so uncomfortable. And then on the other hand, women who didn't exactly agree with me, but they respected me so much, and they kind of almost, they loved that about me, and that just made me feel so good. So that's a very important aspect. I mean, that is also involved with the communication, of course, which is in any relationship. Good communication is essential as part of that connection.
I have always felt that once the woman loses respect for a man in the relationship, it's over. It's just such a critical thing on both ends.
Yeah.
It's critical for a man to feel respected, and it's critical for the woman to respect him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's for any relationship, really, not just conscious or spiritual relationships. Yeah, absolutely. So the other one, the third one, is about is to show that you are at least willing to adapt and grow in a relationship. Okay, I would imagine that most of the people who are watching this, and many of your clients, Pam, are probably already at that level. That you have spiritual clients and spiritual viewers and so on. So as a spiritual woman, you're probably already that kind of person who is always wanting to grow, to adapt, to improve. But it's very important to be able to sort of express and show that to your man, your conscious man, because that's what he also needs from you. He needs that from you, because he himself is evolving and growing, and throughout the course of any relationship, things will change dramatically from when you first met. So he needs to feel confident that you're going to be able to change with that or adapt with that. And of course, if you don't, then that you just go your separate ways, and then that was supposed to be. So don't worry about that. But if you can show that you are good at, or well, that you're willing, is the word I would prefer to use, that you're willing to adapt and grow, then yeah, he will love that, and he will definitely want to invest in a relationship with someone like that.
That's beautiful. It's kind of funny because I'm feeling this like kind of whole circle coming back of like what it takes to attract a man, right? A quality conscious man is to be your natural self, to have evolved yourself to a degree that you're almost like, like a lighthouse light, like radiating above the crowd, like, you know what I mean? Like, right. Yes, I'm a smart, sexy, spiritual woman, right? Yeah. Like, and then you're going to attract your like, and it's about doing your growth work, your inner work to get there. But then to create the long-term lasting relationship, you can't just go like, yeah, I got the guy now.
That's it. Stop
done.
Working.
Yeah. Done. Now I can just like relax into whatever. no, you have to keep growing, right? And this is
Yeah.
kind of like what the law of attraction is about, said in this totally different way, which I'm like loving from you right now, because we all hear like raise your vibration, and you have to
Yeah.
be in vibrational alignment, and you have to be in, vibration to attract, what you want in your life. And then you're like running around going, oh my God, is this thought in alignment? Is that thought in alignment?
Yeah.
Am I vibrating here? Am I vibrating there? Where am I vibrating right now?
Yeah, if you can vibrate in certain points, then you're definitely attracting a conscious man.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, blushing
But
now.
yeah. I totally agree with what you're saying, Pam, and I think it's such a good point that you say, because I also wanted to stress as well that I don't want women to think that they have to be somehow spiritually enlightened and perfect in order
Right.
to attract a conscious man. The important thing is that you're on the way. You're doing the work. You don't have to have it all down. It's an ongoing process. We're always growing. So that's why I just wanted to stress that you don't have to feel that that you've got your shit together, that you are this amazing spiritual person. I mean, you are, but you don't have to feel that you're some kind of enlightened Buddha or something.
Well, and perfectionism is a big thing. So I love that you said that, because so many times, we get sucked into this perfectionist thing, oh God, and let's not even, and actually you have a whole thing about body image and liking your body in your book and in your coaching. Yeah. That is, we can't get into that now because we're going too long anyway, but that is that perfectionism thing, and that, being hard on yourself thing. Jamie, what I love about you is that you have this ability to create a safe space to allow women to work with a man, because I know there's other male coaches out there, and sometimes I would feel like, oh, I have to take a shower now. Like, I just feel icky. I don't know. Like, I just felt icky, or like I was doing something wrong, or like I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I love that I never have that feeling from you of all the times we've talked and worked together. And so I'm really just excited about what you're bringing to the world and what you have to offer. And so below this video is a link to get his ebook. So jump in and get his ebook. And you also have an assessment on your site, right? To see if you can attract a quality, or if you're a good match, right? If you're a good match.
If you're a good match for a conscious spiritual man, go through the assessment there, and it'll give you a sort of a good idea of whether you'll attract that type of man or whether you'll turn him off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the thing about it that's so great is that it's not like you have to change something about yourself. You just have to become more yourself, right? Become more your natural self.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't like this idea of you having to be something that you're not, or that you have to somehow change something. It's not about changing. It's just about connecting with yourself at a deeper level and letting that out.
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're obviously an amazing guide to do that. And also, I know you tell your story a lot. You said there's a bunch of emails and you tell your story. You have a really fascinating story. You guys caught the whole monk for 11 years thing. So, he has a really interesting story, and he has a really interesting dating process. So click the link below this video and grab his gift, and jump into his webpage and take the assessment. And so thank you so much for chatting with me. It was really fun.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah, it's good fun as always. And I'd look forward to interacting with anyone else, any of your viewers who are interested in following this up further.
Very cool. All right, everybody. Much love and happy dating.
Bye.
Bye.